Welcome to HBRV Lifestyle. We are live today answering your questions, but we have a ton of stuff to get to. There's been a lot that's happened this week, and I want to explain and kind of go over some things with you guys, okay? So first off, one of the things I'd like to do is thank a guy named Greg Carson. If you don't know who that is, he's with Cruisin' with the Carsons YouTube channel. He actually released his non-disclosure agreement from Grand Design, okay? And it's very interesting because his non-disclosure agreement is very verbally, politically, lawyeristically written, where in one of the clauses it specifies that he has to voluntarily remove his YouTube channel and YouTube videos about FrameFlex. So those allegations that have been made by several people that have reached out to me over the last 5 months saying that Grand Design is forcing people to remove their social media posts and their YouTube videos dealing with FrameFlex, dealing with frame failure. If we take Greg Carson's non-disclosure agreement and we read between the lines of it and look past how it's worded, you will see, and I'll share it if you want a copy of it. I'm going to redact stuff, but I can also link the video to it in the description box below. Okay. So reality is that we have officially understand that this is true. Grand Design is trying to sweep this frame problem under the rug. Okay. Now, I don't know why. It doesn't make sense to me. It makes absolutely zero sense for a corporation to put that clause in a YouTube or in a non-disclosure agreement. Now, non-disclosure agreements are normal in any kind of buyout or buyback situation, whether it's the sale of a company, a purchase of a company, a purchase or sale of a vehicle. A lot of times those are normal, but the verbiage that is used is not normal. You would think that if a company, no matter who the company is, it could be Walmart, it could be Target, it could be Forest River, it could be, Ford, Chevy. If you're doing the right thing as a company and you're doing the right thing by the customers, wouldn't you want that information on the internet? Wouldn't you want the bad and then the solution? Wouldn't you want to show that you are basically helping the customer out, that you're making an effort to help the customer? Don't you want that good press? And I guess whoever at Winnebago or whoever at Grand Design has decided that's a bad thing. Okay? The other very interesting thing, so I got off the phone with one service guy this evening. Very great conversation, okay? But I've talked to now 7 different independent shops this week across the United States. And there's five very common things that all of these independent RV warranty shops, so these are not connected to dealerships, so they don't sell anything. All they are is repair centers. That's all they are, okay? And the repair centers have told me that they have completely stopped taking Grand Design warranty work. All 7. Why? In their mind, there's a lot of things I understand, which is slow pay on warranty. Now, I don't have a choice because I'm a dealer, so I have to do warranty work, even though I know slow plays are coming, or slow pays are coming, okay? The next thing that really stood out to me is that all of them have said the same thing, that they are it seems like there's high turnover over at Grand Design in the Service and Warranty Center. This is a common thing amongst all of them, right? They also said, not just Grand Design, but also a lot of the other manufacturers have seen major turnover in the warranty departments of several brands. Not necessarily the umbrella company, but several brands as well. So Grand Design's not immune to, Grand Design's not the only one having that problem. Okay? And then it's another one of those things where they're not getting the approvals in a timely manner. All 7 of them, all 7, have this same thing to say to me, which is to get warranty approvals specifically anymore from Grand Design RV has gotten harder and harder to get. They said this was not always the case. This is something that's been a lot newer. This is something that's been approaching them for the last 2-3 years. They said prior to that, if they said go back, one of them has been a shop that has been there since Grand Design's inception. Does everybody's warranty work? Everybody's. Doesn't matter if it's Jayco, Keystone, he'll do anybody's work. Okay? But he said in the inception, 2015, 2016, 2017, and the years they started getting bigger and bigger and bigger, even after the Winnebago sale, they still were getting fast, easy, like take care of the customer type of warranty approvals. And over time, this has become an issue. And all 7 of them said it's like they keep pointing the finger at each other. Vendor. And then we're not just talking about 1 or 2 vendors. We're talking about every vendor. It seems like every problem that has a vendor, it's like manufacturer versus vendor. Manufacturer versus vendor. Okay? So, this is something that kind of is a little frustrating, because now I'm starting to get a bigger, broader picture of things. And the bigger and broader picture I get of things, the more I'm understanding that this is an RV factory problem. Okay? Now, MORryde, Lippert, Dometic, all the vendors have their part to play. But I believe this is, the more I talk to people, the more I'm getting an understanding of where people are coming from and what they're doing, the more I'm understanding this is not a vendor issue 100%. This is an RV factory problem. And it just so happens this company has the biggest social media presence of anybody, has a pedestal of being the best in the industry, which realistically, and the only defense that they have, is it puts a big target on your back. But when you have that big a target, you better learn how to deal with it in a way that makes you look incredible. So if you're going to buy somebody out of a rig, you want them to tell them. No, you don't want them to tell them how much. That's between the factory and them. But you want them to keep the frame failure videos and frame flex videos. And then say, look what Grand Design did for me. I had all these problems, and they bought my rig back. Oh, wait, but then everybody's going to expect that, right? So it's that fear factor of, oh, well, if everybody knows what's going on, then everybody's going to have that expectation. That is what is going to get this company ultimately in a lot more trouble than they already are. This is why a lot of people across the entire RV community, not the industry, the community, the customers, are calling for Don Clark's resignation. They're calling for his resignation, including myself, because of the way this is being handled. Because here's the bottom line, guys, and this is the more I talk about this, the more I learn, the more I'm educating myself, the more you have to understand that, and the more Grand Design needs to understand and Winnebago needs to understand, is it doesn't just affect them, it affects the owners of Grand Design fifth wheels that want to sell them or trade them in. It affects the other manufacturers who build fifth wheels, and it affects the used RV fifth wheel market in general. Because if Grand Design's so screwed up, then that means everybody else is worse. That's the mindset that carries over. That's that mindset that's going to get the entire industry to the point where it's going to take years to rebuild instead of months. Now, I don't know if it can be recovered. All I can say is the only thing I can do is bring you the information and let you guys decide for yourself. Okay? But this seems to be isolated. There are others that have problems. Keystone, Montana High Country, they seem to have a problem with cracked frame and frame failure, things of that nature. Okay? Alpine by Keystone seems to have that problem. But it's so minuscule compared to the issue with Solitude and Momentum. And now we're finding out Reflection is having these issues allegedly. So all the allegations, all the speculation, everything that we have talked about, everything that we have been looking at for the last now 6 months is coming to a head. And I'm sorry if I'm not like responding to the comments today, okay? But this is a reality that has to be faced by the industry. The industry needs to come out and talk about this. Okay? We need to get the upper echelon of the upper tier of executives at every other manufacturer, at every vendor, and get them on the record about their processes and show the community that this is an isolated incident that is the majority one factory. Now, they'll never say that. But if we could talk about processes, if we could talk about process from the ground up, without mentioning manufacturer names, without pointing the finger at each other, if we just talk about processes and educate people in processes, we'll be fine. I looked up something today. Somebody, this is the second service person to tell me this and remind me that in 2017, Lippert put out a thing about cracks in I-beam chassis. I'll see if I can find it. I've been looking for the PDF for a while. I've been looking in my archives because I remember that. I was in service in 2017, so I remember that bulletin. And it had a whole repair thing. I mean, we're not talking about big, huge cracks. We're talking about, 4 or 5 inch cracks. But, the difference is at least there's a bulletin out there for a fix for that, right? And it came from Lippert themselves. It came from the manufacturer of the frame. So this is something going back to 2017, right? So the reality is if the RV manufacturers can come together and talk about future processes, current processes, and what they're doing about the problems, that's how this industry bounces back. That's how you regain trust with the community. You don't gain trust by being silent. You don't keep trust by hiding behind your new motorhome release that you're going to do, or that you're going to make a Class C motorhome that's the best in class of the industry. You don't need to do that. You need to solve the problem now and regain the confidence of the industry. Because let me put it this way, Brinkley, Lux, Redwood, Riverstone, all these high-end fifth wheels are not having the issue at this level at all. All use Lippert chassis. Every one of them. So what's the difference? Right? What's the difference? So this is where I'm kind of rooting for Grand Design to come out and say, we have a problem. We are in the midst of solving that problem. We have a fix. We have the ability to get you back on the road safely. We know what we're doing. It's a larger problem than we wanted to admit to. It's our fault, our problem, and we pride ourselves on taking care of our customers. Not in talk, but in action. This is the time. This is where we need to begin the healing process. Okay? I'm going to read something to you guys. Okay? It's a very great thing I get emailed earlier today. 1 second. When a company steps up and takes care of its customer today and takes care of future customers tomorrow, it becomes cancerous. It becomes a reaction. It becomes a culture. When you keep a culture of taking care of people, they will take care of you. When you create an atmosphere of that there are no worries, because when something goes wrong, not if, when something goes wrong, their stress level does not need to be high because you are going to be taken care of. This could be something as little as a dishwasher installed in your house to the building of your dream home, to the customization of a boat, to the handicap customization of a motorhome. When you know that you are going to be taken care of, you will take care of the company and the product. The still number one best way to advertise your quality and your ability to stand behind your product is through word of mouth. But today, in our world, word of mouth is not just around the campfire, because social media is the new campfire. That's the bottom line. That was emailed to me today. You can't make everybody happy. Period. It's not going to happen. But when it's thousands of people, it becomes a problem. Another thing I was emailed today. There are several ways that every RV manufacturer can help regain the confidence of the entire RV lifestyle. From those that have already purchased, to those that are ready to purchase, to those that are future RVers. And the best way to regain their confidence is to be more transparent than they've ever been in the past. When I go and watch a Ford car being put together, or a Toyota Camry, there is complete transparency on where the parts come from, how they assemble them. There is a manual that talks about everything to deal with the vehicle: power supply, computer systems, electronics. When is the RV industry as a whole going to have this type of transparency. Keep up what you're doing. I think eventually that if they find someone like you and they feel comfortable with a guy that's already in the industry to ask the tough questions, maybe we'll get the tough answers that we're looking for. Keep it up. Okay? This is not a small problem. Okay? It is a small problem compared to the bigger picture of the industry. But it's affecting the industry. This was 2002, 2003. You could have swept this under the rug. In this day and age, we got TikTok, we got Snapchat, we got YouTube, we've got, God, you got Twitter. It's nuts. I will tell you, as I crack open my adult beverage of the evening, I believe that they are ready to be transparent. I think they're trying to figure it out. I think there's probably a couple of knuckleheads out there that don't want to be. And I think because, and this is an opinion, this is not a fact, but my opinion is because that area of the United States is so small that everybody kind of knows each other. Everybody kind of went to high school together or college together or elementary school together. Maybe one kid cut another guy's lawn. Okay, it's a small area of the country. It doesn't have a huge, large population. It's not like Los Angeles where there's, 10 million people that live there, whatever the exaggerated number is nowadays. It's not like Las Vegas, Nevada has 3 million people that live in it. It's large land-wise, but it's still middle America. They all know, it's like small townish. Everybody knows each other. So I think that's the toughest part of the entire thing is, one vendor might have executives that are friends or grew up in high school or play golf with or is married to a family member of somebody at a manufacturer. And it's like, put yourself in that awkward of a position. And I think that's why, guys, that's why I think that I'll be able to get through them to them. I think that I'll be able to get in front of them because I understand that. And in order for us to get the answers we're looking for, if and when I can get in front of some of these people and put them on record, when we can get them on record, it's going to be, the questions are going to be asked. I wouldn't call it in a politically correct way, but we're going to say in a way that only talks about the process of the company I'm talking to. So if I get to talk to Morride, if I get to talk to Dometic, if I get to talk to Lippert, if I get to talk to all these guys, talking about their processes and what they internally believe and what they internally want to do, that right there is going to give us a lot of the answers we're looking for without everybody doing the freaking point finger mode. I understand how much. Yes. I don't think it will put Grand Design into bankruptcy. Grand Design is owned by Winnebago. I don't think it'll come to that. Yeah, I mean, just things like that generator problem. I understand Amish, sure. Diplomatic, sure. We'll call me diplomatic. Calling me diplomatic is kind of that's being polite. I mean, that's not really what I'm going to be, but that's a good word. I'm not going to show my adult beverage here. No, because I don't want to get kicked out of YouTube today. Oh, that's refreshing. Nice and cold. Yummy. Okay. And you know what? I'm going to give a shout out to JD from Big Truck, Big RV. Pragmatic as always. I love Pete. I love Pete and Lisa. They're so great. I want to give out a little shout out to JD from Big Truck, Big RV. I don't think him and I started off on the right page at all. But I think now that he has kind of, I've assumed, become a fan of the podcast and a fan of the channel, I think he understands where I'm coming from. And that's pretty big of him. I got to give him a lot of credit because a lot of us have egos. I have a big ego. My ego is probably the size of minimum all of Asia. Okay. But I think that's pretty big of him. I really do. I mean, to me, anybody who is willing to look at things from other viewpoints besides the corporate narrative of manufacturing or vending is to me, if you're starting to open your eyes, enjoy it, right? It's not Bud Light. Pete, you know me better than that already. You know what it is. It begins with an M and it ends with an O. And it's a black can. So good. Oh, God, I miss Mexico in some respects. All right. Next up. Oh, by the way, big shout out to everybody too. Whether you're listening, watching this now or watch this later, big shout out to everybody. A lot of you have just like keep pounding me with information. You guys are sending me all these emails with all these articles, all these videos, all these stuff. Keep jamming me with info. You're helping me out big time because half the time anymore, I don't have time to do half this stuff. So you guys sending me this stuff is great. If Theo's online, Theo, I'm going to email you privately. I'm not going to answer your question here because I haven't had a chance to watch your video you sent me on your roof. So Theo, I'll get to you, man. I will promise I'll get you an email tomorrow, okay? If you're on here. Modesto, there you go. Live streaming is different, okay? So when I mark things, I have to mark things that they don't involve the sale of alcohol, okay? And technically, if I put the beer in front of the camera, I am technically promoting alcohol. So I have to be kind of careful with that. Now, one day when I don't feel like having it, when I actually know I want to have a beer, because this was last minute. This really was. This was completely last minute. Ooh, pardon me. Ooh. Pardon me. Okay, here we go. Hello there, Honey Badger. This is a two-part question. Part number one is you obviously have been doing RV loans for a long time. My mother wants to co-sign with me on an RV, but we were told by our Camping World here in Nebraska that there are no co-signers on RV loans. We went down to our credit union here in the town and found out that we can co-sign, but we have to have equal credit lines, which we don't have. I'm a 634, my mom's an 800. So part two of my question is, how do we possibly get me and my mom on the loan at the same time and get a decent interest rate? You can't. It's a fact of life. You can't. Your credit score is not high enough for it to happen. So what a bank will look at, so when they do a co-signer, there are co-signers in the industry, okay? Co-signers generally have to either qualify at the same time separately, or if you have joint credit, like a same car loan, same mortgage, then generally they will consider you guys together without having to do it separately. Because of the fact you don't have any of those things, unfortunately, you're going to have to qualify on your own. Now, that being said, I wouldn't say that it's impossible for you to, I don't know, go get a personal loan. Maybe instead of making a traditional RV loan, if you can afford a higher payment and on a shorter term, maybe do a personal loan. The other way you can do it too is you can have your mom buy it because it's her RV. If you get my drift, wink, wink, hint, hint, hunt, hunt. Okay. That's the other way you could do it. But basically, unless your income doesn't really match up with what you're trying to buy, then, you know, obviously you probably would want to do the loan on your own. Because you're going to get the same interest rate with your mom on the loan with both of you at your credit score. So you're going to be between 12 and 18% either way. So your mom really doesn't help benefit you if she's trying to cosign. So hopefully that helps you out. Okay. We're getting closer to May the 4th. And, may the 4th be with you always. I'm trying to do a koozie, guys. I got to find a company that'll do one. I'm trying, trust me. I was so disappointed when the company I'm working with on the t-shirts and the hats freaking didn't send me, don't have koozie options. Oh, that'd be perfect. Well, see, what's interesting about your comment there, Daryl, is, and Blair, you're right, higher down payment. What's interesting, Daryl, about you saying that. So I've talked to some folks on the service side of things, okay? So I talked to a guy on Monday, and I'm not going to name what state he's in. I'm just going to say he's on the East Coast, okay? And he was telling me something very interesting. He was saying that he believes, from the information he's gathered from every frame company, that includes Lippert, obviously, but not just Lippert, but every single other frame company out there that builds frames for, anybody, agricultural trailers, RVs, etc. He said they all come with a different warranty depending on the way that the manufacturer of the actual box, how did he put it? He said, okay, I'll put it in my own words because I was trying to put it in his, but basically what it is if you ask for a lighter weight chassis for a bigger unit, then the frame company is going to give you a shorter warranty than if you have a heavier duty frame built, which kind of makes sense in a way. Okay, it makes common sense. I've never really had to deal with anything past 3 years because a lot of times a lot of the problems I ever ran into before this whole frame flex, frame failure thing was I ran into sidewall construction problems a lot, especially when Luan fiberglass was used and people would use hung wall with wood structure before a lot of the lamination processes started becoming better and Asdale fiberglass came out. We had a lot of structural issues with sidewalls. So I'm used to dealing with a 3-year structural and a 10-year or 15-year roof material warranty. I never really had to deal with the frame. Okay, like Lippert Components has some pretty good warranty programs for a lot of their actual components, like some of the aftermarket stuff that like slide outs and stuff like that. I've gotten some slide outs done under the 1 year, 2 year warranty with Lippert, no problem. I've gotten speakers done through Driven. I've gotten a lot of different vendors directly to deal with their warranty rather than going through the manufacturer. But I never had to deal with the frame itself. Most of the time whenever I had to do with frame damage, it usually was from an accident, right? So normally somebody gets rear-ended or something and they need a bumper redone or the I-beam cracked or whatever the case may be, okay? Well, that being said, I've never really had to deal with the frame warranty over the last 15 years. So I don't have the education to say yes or no, but to hear it from an independent service center on the East Coast, it's kind of like, is that true? If and this is speculation. This is not true. This is not fact. This is speculation. Okay, and I would speculate that if Grand Design is using lighter weight chassis purposely to cut down weight, cut down money, cost, that would make sense why they're having so many really big major problems with frame failure or major frame flex with these heavy fifth wheels. And it would make sense why a lot of the bigger units, like mobile suites, as an example, it would make sense why they're not having the issues. Yeah, it's the same frame manufacturer. Okay, there are a couple other people that have talked to me about how they weld their own frames, how they build their own frames. Like, for example, there's a builder in San Jacinto, California that doesn't use any other frame. He just welds his own. He's a brand new manufacturer trying to get his foot in the door. And, you know, we had a conversation about it. And everything I've heard from guys without them pointing fingers and without them like having any skin in the game and no emotion and no, I'm an owner, I'm pissed, you know. Just listening to these guys talk, it's like, that would make sense. Yeah, exactly. No, and Linda, there's a lot of that going on. Hey, Greg Lynch, how you doing? Um, you know, you know, it brings up also like, well, so first off, when your weight is way off, when did they weigh the unit? Did they weigh it before accessories were added, like washer, dryer, solar? How was it weighed? See, these are processes that need to be more transparent, right? Um, well, you know, the lag screws or lag bolts, depending on what situation you're in, I can't speak on that yet. Now here's what's interesting. I've talked to aircraft people. I've talked to people that build tanks. I've talked to, you know, now a lot of service people that are independent service shops. And I get mixed bag information on that. Some people say that the lag screws and lag bolts don't really make a difference. You can fill up all the holes with the right ones and it's not going to do a darn thing. I've heard the opposite. I've had people tell me, no, 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 you have to do it 3/4 inch or 3/8 inch because there has to be play. There has to be flex in the hole. I've heard people that are not connected to manufacturers tell me that. They tell me, look, though, if you put 1/2 inch in there and there's no play, it's gonna create a problem. And then I've heard that if you don't fill every hole across the whole thing with 1/2 inch screws or 1/2 inch bolts, that it's going to cause a big problem too. So I don't have a direct answer about lag screws or lag bolts that I can talk about yet. I mean, that's the biggest issue that I foresee, right? Is we don't have a clear answer on that. Because a lot of people, when they're in engineering or manufacturing, especially when you're building an aircraft carrier or you're building an airplane or you're building a tank, it's way different than it is with an RV. You know, you're using mostly metal on metal. I mean, this is fiberglass, aluminum, and wood studding inside. I mean, there's all kinds of weird answers. Logic would say that you got to fill all the holes with the right size bolt. That's what logic says. But I can't get anybody to just tell me like a consistent answer yet. And that's, again, that's something that needs to be cleared up by the manufacturers, right? I believe Rockwood would do that because Rockwood doesn't have a lot of options. You know, I would say the question marks wouldn't just be solitude or momentum with that. I'd say, you know, I would question anything that's considered a high profile fifth wheel. High profile being, you know, taller in the front cap, not the smaller, lighter weight stuff. You know, Reflection, Rockwood, Flagstaff, Sundance, all those little lower profile fifth wheels, you know, they don't have a lot of options to them. You don't get a lot of them with washer dryer. You don't get a lot of them with generators or anything like that. I would talk like, you know, what does Mobile Suites do, and how does Redwood do it? You know, how does Riverstone do it? How does Alliance do it? You know, when you're talking about Valor and Paradigm, when you're talking about Montana, when you're talking about Jayco Pinnacle and Jayco Seismic, those would be the ones I would be more questioning. Like, do you weigh it before, weigh it after? If it's a smaller fifth wheel like Rockwood and Flagstaff, you know, Reflection and stuff like that, I'd be a little less tender to go, hey, the weight's going to be pretty close, you know. So I mean, I just don't foresee that kind of thing happening. I disagree with that, Peter. I think they know about it. I think they've known. Full-time RVing was big in the early 2000, late 90s, early 2000s. I mean, people have been living in their rigs and full-time traveling for years. It just wasn't, for decades actually. It just hasn't been as predominant on social media until now. I mean, the worst case when I went to Europe and backpacked Europe, the only thing we had was MySpace back then, and it was dial-up internet when I did that. And, I always had AOL, you got mail. So, it's been going on for a lot longer. It's just more people, we have more human beings in the United States and Canada and across the world. So obviously, but the same percentage of people still RV. I don't think it was anything to do with that. I think it has to do with several things. Here, I'm going to give you guys an opinion, and this is an opinion only, okay? Out of everything I've gathered, if I were to take a guess, a very educated guess on what is going on, I believe because of Grand Design RV's push to always be different than other manufacturers, because they grew the prestige that they had, other manufacturers followed suit. And quality took a dive because of it, slowly but surely. And instead of everybody sticking to the plan of making major changes over 3 to 5 years, they decided, some of them, including Grand Design RV and Winnebago and a few others, decided to push the envelope and make changes every year without notifying their frame company of those changes. Keep costs down, keep production going, keep innovation up, things of that nature. Okay? And then the lockdowns and the pandemic happens. And the turnover that occurred during the pandemic was so big and so huge with every industry, not just RVs, but every industry, that I'll give you a great example. RV technicians. I had some really good ones. And when California got locked down and was paying them $4,000 a month to sit at home and do nothing, that's what they did. So now I was training young kids that had aspirations, not ideas of retirement, but aspirations of growing a career, and trying to train them on the fly how to work on an RV without the normal mentor, student, like you normally would when you bring a young kid in. And then there was the battlefield that was going on during the pandemic. And the battlefield was, I'll give you an example. Coachman Catalina, okay, almost lost their entire crew of workers to, I believe if I remember right, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, to Jayco, because Jayco offered people $5 to $6 more per hour to go work at that factory. And then Cherokee stole workers from different manufacturers. And Grand Design stole people. And then people left Grand Design. It was this big whirlwind of employee turnover with no consistency like there normally would be at a factory. And I think that's been a big factor in all of this. I think that's been a huge factor in this. If you're a frame company and you constantly have turnover during the pandemic and you're trying to put out a product and trying to train new welders or new fasteners, if you're doing huck fastening, if you're doing huck bolt construction instead of welding an I-beam chassis, if you're a refrigerator company and you're trying to put a refrigerator together and all your workers decide to go work for the solar company because they're offering $2 more per hour or $10 more per hour or whatever the case may be, and you lose all those and bring in fresh people without that training from veterans that are sitting at the factory floor of a manufacturer, it causes chaos. Just say I'm broke. Okay. Well, Peter, there are manufacturers that tell you you're not supposed to full-time in them. Okay? Travel trailers mainly. Some of the fifth wheels. Some of the motorhomes. They always have done that. They've done that for decades. That's never been... that's never been different. But it's the guys that sell it as full-timing. Solitude, Momentum are sold as full-time units. Pinnacle is sold as a full-time unit. Montana is sold as a full-time unit. Okay. Sundance, Rockwood, Flagstaff are not sold as live-in units. They're sold as travel units. They're sold as weekender units. Yeah, I love my Star Wars Millennium Falcon shirt. Okay. So that's kind of where that all lies. It is Star Wars. It's my Millennium Falcon. Hi, Ice Spice. Okay, let's go to the next email. Dear Badger, I do understand why you're not liked very much amongst your contemporaries. And I'm referring to them as your, as you would say, sunshine and rainbows versus the Armageddon clout chasers. You tell it how it is. You tell it how it should be. And you don't take a side. Except the customer. It's very rare to see. Do you think that the industry as a whole can start changing to your way of thinking, or do you think there's not a chance of that happening? I believe that some of the manufacturers are going to adapt. I think some of the guys across the industry, some of the manufacturers, even the more popular ones like Outdoors RV and Arctic Fox, Northwood Manufacturing. I truly believe that some of them are so bad and still living life like it's 1991 or 1985 or whatever cliche you want to use. They're still living life as if we're in dial-up internet and no social media. And that communication across the world is still minimal. And that we're still in the freaking Stone Ages. Okay? I believe a lot once younger blood walks through the door. The right younger blood too. I think once younger blood kind of starts to take over the industry, I think everybody will have an understanding, and I think a lot of them will adapt. I think that the ones that won't adapt will probably die out in 5 years. I don't see any of them going bankrupt or filing bankruptcy or going out of business this year, next year, or anything of that nature. Lippert's not going anywhere. So for those of you praying like Liz Amazing is that she's going to put them under and put them through and never, they're going to go out of business because of her. Phooey. They're not going to go out of business. Okay. None of the companies like that are going out of business. Okay. But if some companies don't pull their head out of their butt and adapt, they will go out of business in 5 or 6 years. Okay. But I believe a lot of them will adapt. There will be a small amount that won't. The small amount that won't, if they're under a corporate umbrella like Forest River or Thor Industries or Winnebago or Rev Group, they're going to be eliminated from their position and they're going to bring somebody else in. Okay. I know at Coachman RV, I can't announce the names or the brand or anything like that, but recently a general manager was let go. Because lack of pushing towards adapting. That's the real reason. I mean, there could probably be a million other reasons, but that's the main reason. Like, I personally know who that person is. I know that it's always status quo. We're just going to keep doing things the way we've been doing them for 40 years. Okay. No, there's a lot of them that can be fine. Lego said awesome. Look, I've lived in RVs. I've lived in a lot of fifth wheels. I've lived in a Keystone Cougar. I've lived in an Alliance Valor for a little bit. I've lived in a Montana fifth wheel before. I've lived in a Bighorn and a Landmark. You can practically live in a unit if you build it upright. A lot of these full high-profile fifth wheels, the more you spend, the closer to real full-timing you can do. Forest River Riverstone, probably on the lower end of the price point spectrum, you can full-time in that unit. They actually warranty you for full-timers. Redwood, full-time RV or ready. Lux RV, full-time RV ready. Warranted for full-time. A lot of your Alliance products. Okay? Those are good products that one of them I sell, the rest of them I don't. But I've sold them in the past. And I can tell you that each and every one of those companies will stand behind their product. Even though some of them are knuckleheads about a shower with crappy RV. But for the most part, and the other thing that we have to get out of our heads, and we just have to get it out of our heads as a community, and as dealership community too, is not every unit built coming out of the factory floor is a pile of garbage. We need to get that out of our heads. The percentage of major catastrophic issues is not nearly the number that people think it is. It is there. I'm not saying they don't exist. They obviously do. We all know they exist. But compared to the amount of units built every year, it is a small percentage. Yeah, I mean, Peter, again, Lux, Alliance, a lot of these companies, you could pull them across the country, no problem, and live in them full time. Now, would I do it in a Rockwood or Flagstaff fifth wheel? No. Would I do it in a Flagstaff or Rockwood travel trailer? Yes. Would I do it in an outdoors RV travel trailer? Absolutely. Would I do it in an Arctic Fox fifth wheel? No. Would I do it in a Keystone Cougar? Maybe. Would I do it in an old Bighorn or Landmark by Heartland? Absolutely. Okay. Would I do it in a Jayco Pinnacle? 50-50. I'm always 50-50 about Pinnacle. I don't know why. Some years it's good. Some years it's not so good. You know, some years I hear that it's a pile of crap. Some years I hear it's the greatest thing on earth. So, couldn't really tell you. And that's been going on even before Thor bought them. So, yeah. Wolfpack is not a live-in unit. Wolfpack is a weekend type unit. You need to step up to the Rogue Armored if you want to go full-time. Chaparral, wouldn't live in it. Cedar Creek, yes, I would live in a Cedar Creek. Would I live in a Chaparral? No. Crappy RV is hilarious. I love that guy. That guy cracks me up. But his shower problem he had with his Paradigm was ridiculous. I shoved my foot up Alliance's butt for him for it. He probably doesn't know that, and I wouldn't tell him that, but that's okay. Yeah, I mean, every manufacturer is going to have its bad apples. Okay? Every manufacturer, including Lux, including Riverstone, including Mobile Suites. Everybody's going to have their duds. No unit, not if you could put 20 units out, maybe a quarter of a unit's going to be a catastrophic, maybe at the most. If you put out 1,000 units, you might get 2 or 3 that are catastrophic problems. But they won't know they're catastrophic problems till they actually go on the road. That's the hard part. I would love to do that, Blair, but to do that again, I got to go to some of these shows and actually start seeing some of the newer stuff they're doing. That's what I really need to do. I need to get off my butt and make more money at this YouTube thing so I can go on the road. Yeah, because fifth wheels, Daryl, are different. So fifth wheels, tow differently than travel trailers, okay? You have more movement in the pin box on a fifth wheel than you do in a travel trailer, okay? It's not about the construction of the unit, it's about what's going to hold up better. The thing that's lower to the ground when it comes to low profile fifth wheels, it's lower to the ground. So my logic is like I would live in a Cougar travel trailer, Jayco Eagle travel trailer. I would live in a Paradigm travel trailer. I'd live in a Grand Design Solitude travel trailer, or Reflection travel trailer, whatever the hell travel trailer it is. If I'm going to compare a low profile fifth wheel like an Arctic Fox or a Cougar or a Rockwood or Flagstaff, etc., I would rather live in the travel trailer version because it's lower to the ground. You have two bars that are going to stabilize the unit, okay? And it's lower to the ground, which means when you get through those high winds and those big passes, less can go wrong. A lot of things can go wrong when you're pulling a lighter weight fifth wheel, especially if you have a smaller truck. And a lot of guys carry smaller trucks. So if you're driving around 365 days a year, I'd rather be in a heavier, taller fifth wheel with a big-ass truck than be in a lighter weight, smaller fifth wheel. That's my feeling, okay? That doesn't mean it's 100% accurate. That's my opinion, okay? And that's just from being in this industry so long. I've seen folks have Keystone Cougars. I live in a Keystone Cougar fifth wheel, okay? It's a nice fifth wheel. Holds up well if I'm sitting in one spot. Would I travel around the country 365 days a year in it? Probably not. But if I had the travel trailer version of the same thing, I would do it. Right? So that's how I feel about it. Oh yeah, it happens all the time, right? Oh, thanks. Thanks, Blair. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Yeah, that's very true too. You know, that's why I said it's my opinion. It's what I would do. I'm not answering that question. Good Lord. We're going to go a little longer than we normally do, guys. But yeah, again, Blair, thank you for the donation. Really appreciate it. Okay. No, I'd rather do travel trailer. I already took care of it. Oh, that's my boss. You know, dang it, Andrew. Andrew, you know, if you're going to do something like that, at least freaking text me before you put it on there. I put you on timeout. Good Lord. I just put my own boss on freaking timeout. What's opinion on converted schoolies? I'm not sure. I like watching the videos. The videos are awesome of people converting school buses. That's really freaking cool. I prefer travel trailer over motorhome because no matter what, you're towing something. So I'd rather... oh, that wasn't you first? Oh, okay. You know, travel trailer... You get to drop the truck. The truck has more capabilities of doing stuff. I'm a fisherman, okay? So I like to float tube on lakes and do river fishing, you know, creek fishing. In order to do that, you really got to have a truck. So travel trailer and truck for me work better. Family oriented, yep. What are your thoughts on KZ Durango Gold for full time? Nobody ever brings them up. That's because KZ, in my opinion, is a weekend type of unit. It's not a... I would never live in a KZ product, just like I would never live in a Gulfstream product, ever. Have I stayed in a Gulfstream product? Absolutely. Like right now I'm in a Lance travel trailer. I would live in a Lance travel trailer any day of the week. Yeah, I mean, that's not bad. I mean, everybody's got their own personal preference. You know, motorhome with a small little toter vehicle is great. I would prefer a truck and a trailer. Well, I appreciate you too, JJ. Thank you for your support. Yeah. Here. Oh, shit. Oh, crap. I don't cuss on here. I usually cuss on only the freaking... on the freaking podcast. Sorry about that. But with a Jeep pulled behind an RV, you can go down trails that truck won't. No, that's true. I just prefer the truck because I get the bed of the truck to put all my fishing poles, my cooler, my float tube. That's the way I do things, okay? Everybody RVs differently. When people ask me my opinion about how I RV or how I want to RV, it's going to be different than a lot of people. That's why when it's your first unit, like I always try to encourage people, before you go full-time, if you're like, okay, I'm going to go full-time 4 years from now, go buy yourself a little 17-foot wolf pup, you know, a little Springdale or something, and go camping. You know, go try it out so you get an idea of how you camp, because everybody camps differently. Everybody RVs differently. Not everybody does it the same exact way, because if everybody did it the same exact way, then there would only be one builder of RVs and they'd be built only one way. You know? Chris Starley thought, yeah, that's funny. Can you live in a Class B Sprinter van? Probably not. I know some YouTubers, I won't mention their names because I've decided to keep their names private, that are huge YouTubers that live the van life. They never sleep in their van. That's all fake. They sleep in hotel rooms. So obviously it's very hard to do that. There's a guy on TikTok that actually really does it and has a camera on him 24 hours a day. And he live streams himself 24 hours a day. And he just sold the van and got out of it after 8 months. So yeah, living in a van is really hard to do. There's Andrew. There it is. You need a truck camper with a boat behind it. Drop the camper off and you have both. Boom. Except I'm not a big boat guy. I go rent them. I don't do it. See, it's interesting. So the owner of the dealership here, okay? So, you know, I send him videos. When I'm on a float tube in the middle of like Jenks Lake or Lake Sabrina, in the morning, if I don't tell him I'm going, or even if I tell him I'm going, because technically, if you want to be technical, he technically bought me all my new fishing gear stuff. Now, he bought it for me like 3 years ago. But if you want to be technical, he did it. I mean, he didn't pick them out. I went and picked them out. But technically, he did it. So every once in a while, I'll film where I'm at, right? Out in the middle of the float tube. And then there just happens to be a certain finger on a hand that happens to go right across the camera. Usually goes around. I send it to him. So that kind of tells you the relationship I have with my bosses. Am I homeless? No, I'm not homeless. I just, you know, doing my thing. Okay, that's not bad. What's that called? It's called Scooby doing it. Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah. Transport company up. Hey, living in a van down by the river is pretty cool. Okay. Well, Fropti, I mean, if you want to get rid of it, you can. I mean, what do you want to go to is the question. That's the real question. Okay. All right, let's get to another question. We still have some time tonight. Let's get to another question. All right, screw it. It's been an hour. If they kick me off my live stream, kick me off. We're drinking the Modelo. Oh, perfect. Okay, dear Honey Badger, we currently live in our 2012 Winnebago tour, and we owe about $160,000 still on the motorhome. We did trade in a fifth wheel when we bought it. We purchased it in Hershey at the Hershey show back in 2012. We are trying to get out of it and into a Mercedes-type Sprinter vehicle because we are no longer going to full-time. We traveled across the country the last 12 years and have decided to settle down in Florida. How would you suggest I go about finding an actual real value of our diesel pusher so I can start to figure out how much down payment I need to get out of it? Well, what I'm going to do for you is I need you to email me again the model number of the tour. There were three models back then. So I can actually print out a book sheet for you so you can see how the bank looks at the value of the motorhome. That we can get an idea. Now I'm going to tell you that all the tours were all dual axle, most of them back then. Okay, we're all tandem axle, and the tandem axle market sucks right now. So the book sheet may not tell you the entire story. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to list you some of the things that I would do. So that way when you go into Florida, you go into some of the dealerships, you don't go into shock. It also might give you an idea of maybe you should sell it on your own. Maybe you should, I would tell you what I would sell it for, what I'd list it for, give you some ideas so that way you understand how to flip it quick. Being a 12-year-old diesel pusher, as long as it has under 100,000 miles, you can still get them financed traditionally. Gas motorhome you couldn't, but because it's a diesel, more than likely you can get some decent financing options for the next customer, or if you turn it into a dealership, then obviously they can have a good idea of doing it. Hopefully I helped you. Okay, let's go. So after about a year of research, I'm thinking of a used New Camp Tab 32400. We'll be camping with 2 dogs. I'm solo and older, so as much as I like the idea of pop-ups, I don't want the setup. Hey, that's very good. Tabs are nice little teardrops. They're expensive, but they're nice. I don't know if you sell Class A motorhomes. I do. But as a truck driver, some of these people look like they're scared to death driving a Class A and can't maintain their lane. Does that ever worry you? No, not really. I actually prefer the people scared out of their mind. The guy that's too comfortable behind his Class A motorhome, that's the guy that scares the crap out of me. What's the biggest camper you fell behind a Crown Vic can pull? Crown Vics can't tow anything. You shouldn't tow anything with a Crown Vic. I inherited the trailer. It's half horse trailer with a sleeper and no toilet. I don't have a horse or ever intended to. Talk to our agricultural trailer sellers. They'd be most interested in that. You should sell it, Froppy. Bet someone would love to have it. Oh yeah, I bet you too. It's Fairlane, light and small, teardrop or vintage. I'd probably go teardrop rather than vintage. I don't like the vintage looks. Hello. What about a seismic full-time? Are those also hit or miss for years like Pinnacles? You know what? I've had pretty good luck with seismics. Now, I did recently, there was a gentleman on the podcast and also the main channel, it follows the main channel, that just had his seismic bought back by the factory because it had frame problems. But outside of that, generally seismics have been pretty good. Now, full timing in a seismic, probably not. I would look at the Riverstone 45 Bath. I would look at anything by Rogue Armored. I would look at, if you're going toy hauler, I would look at some of the older Cyclones, Keystone Fusion, things of that nature. I would look into that stuff before you buy a seismic. IIRC, you should stay below 3,000 pounds, okay? You can sell that horse trailer very easily, okay? Anyone want to trade a truck for a Crown Vic? And what's funny about Crown Vic is why I kind of laughed, Fairlane Boy 66, is because I slept in the back of a Crown Vic back in my giant RV days, let's see, almost like 12, 13 years ago. I was sleeping in the back of the thing at a Walmart parking lot right next door to the dealership. That was years ago. What's the best for a Jeep Wrangler older than 2023? Well, again, it depends on the package the Jeep Wrangler has. If the Jeep Wrangler only has a 2,000-pound tow capacity, you're kind of screwed. But if it has the bigger package and the tow package where it tows 3,500, any pop-up tent trailer, any of these little, what do they call them? They call them little guy trailers, or those new camp tabs. Those would work. We used to tow the Grand Marquis, bought out both. Yeah, but here's a gentle song. My grandfather used to tow the 1960 Continental my mom has with a Cadillac Eldorado. No wonder it caught on fire. I mean, I'm talking about the car, not the trailer. I mean, the engine blew up. It was crazy. 1995. Yeah, as long as it's a 3,500 pound tow capacity, you shouldn't have a problem towing like a little teardrop. You ever see the pics of a homemade Crown Vic RV conversion because the guy's wife kicked him out? No, I slept in it straight up. I put a little air mattress, a little tiny full-size air mattress in the back with a pillow. I curtained and blacked out all the windows. Had all my stuff in the back. I mean, those were the old days, man. Sienna Bear. Okay. You know, Intech is just so much money. I have videos on it on this channel. I have videos of 2 of them on this channel. I talked to the rep. They're just heavy and they're expensive. I mean they're almost the same price as a Bambi Airstream. I mean, it's crazy. Oh my God. 24 hours, okay. Yeah, Patty, I'll do it on the next video. My favorite tragic events? I don't have one. I'm a little tall to sleep in the backseat of a car company. Yeah, I don't blame you. All right, we got time for one more question. I gotta get back to editing video and doing marketing stuff for the California dealerships. Dear HB, my credit score keeps fluctuating between 685 and 740. It depends on which bureau you run. But every time I go to the dealerships here in Memphis, Tennessee, they always tell me that my interest rate is going to be 18%. I'm really looking to try to get a rate under 10. If I can't get a rate under 10%, I just don't feel like it's worth buying anything right now. So A, would it be better for me just to wait until my score goes up on all 3 bureaus? B, would it be better if I just go out of state and see if I can find somebody that's not local to me to try to compete for my business? Or C, give me some advice because right now I feel like a complete dummy. Okay, so first off, I just dealt with something kind of similar to this. I had a guy that was buying a Genesis Ragin 5th wheel toy hauler. And sometimes you have to find the right unit, the right product at the right dealership lot to find somebody that will push to find decent financing. So guy's a 694, 26% available revolving, which means he's got heavy credit card debt, self-employed, and he could prove the income. He's one of the rare guys that's self-employed that can actually prove the income on his taxes, send it off to all the banks. They didn't want to do it. Okay, because number one, I'm trying to make profit on the deal because it's a 2024 and I'm trying to make money. But I noticed that my boss had dropped the price on this 2023 Wolfpack we had in stock. And so what I did was I found 2 banks, which are the 2 credit unions I got it approved with in the first place at a lot less dollar amount, a lot bigger, deeper, what we call loan to value. And we were able to get it done. So that's the reality. Sometimes you have to kind of sacrifice what you're looking for based on what you can get approved for. Now, what you can do, and the best thing you could do, is go to a local credit union and just get pre-approved for a certain dollar amount. So start at 100 grand just to see if you can get the 100 grand, right? And then you can always take that approval and do a little bit of shopping. That's when dealerships start going, oh, well, this guy got a 9.74 rate at his credit union. Let's see if we can match it. Then it becomes, the conversation changes from, oh, we can get you 18%. Well, I got approved for 9.74. Do you guys think you can match or beat that? Then the conversation flips around because they want to capture the financing, right? I'm going to tell you a lot of times they're not going to be able to do that because like I keep saying in a lot of the videos I do, there's not a gray area bank. There's a couple of them here and there that we use that we can once in a while get something done reasonably. But most of the time, you either are prime or you're subprime. There's no real fair credit lending in RVs. It's very rare. So we have to like really work to be able to get that loan, either the customer or the dealership. So something just to keep an eye on, keep a something. You're welcome for all the help. I used to have a new trailer, and 5 years later it fell apart. That's very rare. That's not the norm. Here in Central Texas, $15,000 for used new Camp 320, 4 to 5 years old, and $21,000 to $24,000 for 400. Does that sound right? Well, yeah, those teardrops are expensive, Monica. Those are like, I mean, those bring all the money. That's like having a Subaru. I mean, it brings all the money. You're very much welcome, guys. Appreciate it. I gotta get to work on marketing stuff. I'm like half a day behind doing stuff in total over the last couple days. So same time next week. Like I said, I'm gonna have a drop the mic type of moment pretty soon. So just be on the lookout for it. There's already been a lot of speculation on what it is. I can't tell you what it is. I'll say it has nothing to do with frame failure or frame flex, nothing of that nature. Okay. So until next time, next week, 7 p.m. Pacific time here on Saturday evening. Have a good one. Happy camping.